Hello guys, and welcome to the Joy Report, where we get an outsider's view with an insider's clarity. Let's get into it.
I have zero sympathy for Cubans that voted for that delinquent. Y'all are now facing the consequences of your own actions because of your pure ignorance. A lot of the Cubans that came here from the island and decided to support that motherfucker that were on humanitarian parole or various other immigration programs to try and stay in this country are now crying and suffering consequences of their own stupid actions. I just watched 3 back-to-back interviews with different Cubans that came from the island that had some type of application in with immigration and were deported back to Cuba, and they were supporters of the rapist, crying on camera. One of them even has a disabled child and another little kid. The wife had to stay back, and he was deported back to Cuba. And they were staunch supporters of this delinquent piece of shit. I am Cuban. I was born in Cuba, but I consider myself to be Cuban American. I decided to educate myself from a very young age. Back in about 2004, when John Kerry was running for president, I already knew at that point that I was a Democrat because I aligned directly with those values, because I learned in political science and U.S. history classes in school what being a Democrat or aligning with those values was in comparison to conservative values. And mind you, my family were refugees from Cuba. My dad was a political prisoner, right? In Cuba. My whole family is conservative, Republican. But from a very young age, I decided to educate myself, to go to college, to do my own research. Even from the time I was a kid, even before going to college, I did my own research. And I always have. When you come from another country and you decide to go from one dictatorship to another, and you decide to continue supporting the same bullshit, just instead of with a communist flavor, with a fascist flavor, then you are going to reap what you sow, and you are going to collect the fruits of the bullshit that you decided to vote for. Like, I really don't care how much denial Cubans for Trump are in about the whole immigration situation, talking about that's my president, I voted for that, and all this bravado and ego that they have behind them. I don't care how much they say that bullshit. Y'all know, everyone knows that deep down inside, you motherfuckers as immigrants, no matter if you're a U.S. citizen or you voted for Trump, right? Or maybe you didn't, but you support him, you deep down inside feel guilt over everything that is happening. Because if it's not directly affecting you and your family, it is indirectly affecting you with extended family or with friends, etc. Because all of y'all know that you know of at least one person that is being indirectly or directly affected by what is going on. And yes, it is your fault. It is partially your fault that we are in this mess and about to go to war with Iran as well. Additionally, apart from all of this bullshit. So now not only are we facing difficulties within our country, but now because of y'all's mess and because of the way you voted, because you refuse to educate your fucking brain, we're all in this together, and this country is about to go to war. And if you know anything about Iranians, because I knew them personally living in Los Angeles, aka Tehrangeles, Iranians are incredibly, extremely smart people. So whatever happens here, all of this shit for the American public is not going to be easy. But going back to the immigration thing, because I digress. I went off on a tangent. Sometimes I do, because I have so much that I think about. And there is so much in American society that is being affected by decisions to vote for this piece of shit motherfucker.
In today's video, we're going to talk about a Cuban American woman calling out her community for voting against their interests. This young woman, unapologetically and with full conviction, is not holding back. And honestly, someone had to say it. For too long, some Cuban Americans have proudly aligned themselves with political movements and candidates that actively work against the very policies that support immigrant communities, working families, and marginalized voices. And now, the consequences are hitting close to home. She made it crystal clear that voting against your own interests is not just self-sabotage, it's a betrayal of the struggle your parents and grandparents endured to make it in America. Before we proceed, all credit goes to the creator of these videos. Let's watch a few more reactions and I'll come back with my final commentary.
I want to know what the fuck is ironic and what's really actually sick, if you actually analyze it and think about it, that the Cubans that sing, I will vote, are the same ones that can thank himself, Donald Trump, for deporting, statistically, in his first term, the most amount of Cubans from out of any U.S. president since the 1990s. This is an actual known fact and statistic. And isn't it ironic that it was a Democrat, Lyndon B. Johnson, that in 1966 was the one to sign the Cuban Adjustment Act, allowing Cubans an easier and smoother route to get a green card here in the United States after being here for a year. And isn't it ironic that who they're singing about, Donald Trump, in his first term also in 2020, the amount of asylum approvals decreased all the way down to 4% from previous years, which were about between 25 and 30%. Giving y'all some facts. These are facts. Isn't it ironic how Clinton, a fucking Democrat, was the one that enacted the wet foot, dry foot policy that allowed a shit ton of them to come here and stay? And isn't it ironic that they don the flags, the Trump flags, on their boats and in front of their houses in Hialeah, but this is the same dude, the same piece of shit rapist that cut staffing at the U.S. Embassy, making it exponentially harder for Cubans to get visas, and ended the Cuban family reunification program for them. And finally, in this present day and age, with what we're going through right now with these immigration raids in 2025, isn't it fucking ironic that they are still singing, I will vote, but yet it's the Democrats that are still fighting for them to stay here. Meanwhile, a lot of their families and Cubans that have come fresh from Cuba are being rounded up in these ICE raids and taken away. And the only people that are vouching for them and fighting for them strong and staying strong, fighting against the criminals in this administration, are the actual liberals and the Democrats that they so love to call comunista. Because again, as I have said in previous videos, they fail to learn the system in this country, and they equate liberals and Democrats to communists for some reason. So Cubans, continue. If you want to keep living the way that you're doing and keep singing, I will vote for Donald Trump, keep doing what you're doing. But just know that y'all motherfuckers don't have a good reputation in the Latino community, because you keep supporting the same dictatorial bullshit that you and your families left Cuba for a better future, and you came here for a better future, to seek out a better future, and you're still doing the same bullshit and repeating the same mistakes that your previous ancestors made, and that is why we are in this mess.
She pointed out how Cuban Americans supported DT and MAGA Republicans, thinking they were voting for freedom and opportunity. But now, under the very administration they backed, programs protecting immigrants are being rolled back. Rampant deportations are targeting Cubans who once believed they were safe. Families are being ripped apart, and the very people who thought they were an exception to the rule are now being treated like everyone else. It's not just ironic, it's devastating. What this Cuban American woman is really exposing is the generational trauma and misinformation that's been weaponized within her community. She's calling out the knee-jerk reaction to anything labeled leftist or progressive, and asking people to stop and think critically. What good is praising capitalism when you're watching billionaires get tax breaks while your neighbor's small businesses shut down? She's not speaking out of hatred or division. She's speaking from love for her people, love for her culture, but also love for truth. She's tired of seeing her community used as political pawns and then discarded the moment they're no longer useful. Tired of watching Cuban Americans vote for candidates who don't even respect their existence unless it's beneficial. Her message is not about shame, it's a wake-up call. So what do you all think? Will her community listen? Will they break the cycle? Or will they continue to vote out of fear? Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. I would love to keep this discussion going. Otherwise, that's it from me. I also have another video about black folks calling out squatters for their birthright decision. And if you enjoy such kind of content, please click up here and enjoy. Also, consider subscribing, liking and sharing, because it helps me grow my channel and YouTube to recommend it to a wider audience. But for now, thank you so much for watching, and until the next time, the Joy Report out.